Hello, my name is Robin, and welcome to the second episode of Vuelogs Crosscheck Podcast. After a quite funny episode last week with Billy, this week we were actually able to find a second guest on the channel. And who do you think it will be if I say Biscop?
Hello there, my name's Blake Edgington and welcome to my new YouTube channel.
Blake is a man of many hats, literally, but also of consistency. Consistent in uploads, consistent in video quality, and most importantly, consistently flying economy class. And with this brilliant formula, Blake has been able to grow his YouTube channel to over 5,000 subscribers in 2 short years. And today he's joining us for the second episode of Vuelogs Crosscheck. Welcome, Blake Edgington.
Welcome to Blake Edgington Airborne. Let's get going.
Hello, Blake. Welcome to the podcast.
That's superb. Hi, thanks for having me.
So, how long have you been home so far?
I'm just heading towards 4 weeks now. We've been on lockdown here in the UK. So I think it was about the 23rd, 24th I stopped working. And ever since then, I've been annoying my wife and playing around on YouTube and making videos and things like that. Coping pretty well with it, to be honest. You know, it's you hear horror stories about people that are really struggling, but it's okay. You know, it allows you to just relax and spend good time with family, which is really nice. What about yourself?
I'm still working. Luckily, I have a job where I can just work from home. So it's just important to keep a rhythm, just waking up early and going to bed too late, not drinking too much, most importantly. Because I think, there's a lot of horror stories we hear about England going on, but nothing around you that you'd say that is really bad.
No, I mean, I'm sure everybody around the world that watches these sort of things, they know the news. In the UK, you know, we're having our difficulties, and many people have obviously been affected by it. I personally don't know anybody that's had it. I haven't been affected by it, but you know, it's scary times. But we just do as we're told by our governments around the world, and we'll get through it, and life will be back to some sort of normality eventually, I hope. And we can get back to doing whatever it is we like doing.
Have you had to cancel any trips?
Yes, not many, because I tend to not book trips too far in advance generally, because I work full time, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to fly. But I had some domestic trips that I had to cancel, and I had planned to take a trip in early May as well that wasn't booked yet, but I obviously haven't done anything with that. So I'm just waiting to get back in the air as quick as I can. Probably the same as you, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. Like a tweet I posted earlier this week, me trekking a 747 for 20 minutes just to be able to see a plane. Have you gone that mad yet?
So not that mad. We were allowed to go out for sort of daily walks over here. Yeah. Every time I see an aircraft in the air, I've got flight radar 24 straight away, augmented reality. What is it? I get very excited, and then the wife, she's always with me, and she's like, "Oh, great, it's another airplane."
Yeah,
I think I'm probably talking about flying more than when I'm actually flying right now, because I miss it.
Yeah, because your wife doesn't actually. She has nothing with aviation, doesn't she?
No, she likes going on holiday, but that's about it. She's appeared in a couple of my videos last year when we flew. I think she appeared in a KLM video and an Emirates video. But she watches a channel, she supports me, but she doesn't care. Bless her.
Right. Well, I'm happy that you mentioned her in the video. Because I actually wanted to share a clip about that. And I'd like to hear from you how that came together.
Okay.
It's time to fly to Dubai, and it's time to fly Emirates. Welcome to Blake Edgington Airborne.
Cheers, here's to a great flight.
You know that's Dennis Bunnick, don't you?
Yeah, you text his wife first, love.
Let's get going.
How did that happen?
We did something similar for a KLM video. It was our honeymoon. And our honeymoon was actually planned, obviously, where we wanted to go, but also how many flights I could take. And we came up with the idea that she was going to be with me, and let's include her in some way in the videos. And she does genuinely watch Dennis Bunnick, and she watches a couple of other YouTubers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of just a conversation we had, and she said, well, I want to do an intro, but I want to do Dennis Bunnick's intro. So yeah, it was planned, obviously.
Yes.
That I think was the fourth take.
Because it was a really good one.
Yeah, that was the good one. Both of us messed up our lines before that. But yeah, she was really good, and she got a lot of feedback as well. Whenever she's appeared in the video, people want to see more of her, but it's not happening because I'm the star. So she's no way.
No, she did fantastic in the intro. I did watch the KLM one as well last night. It was really funny, and I believe Dennis responded to it as well, right? Does he watch your videos a lot?
He does. I mean, I'm very lucky, and I'm sure you're the same. But this whole aviation YouTuber community, it's so friendly, and I've made friends like yourself through it. And I do speak to Denick occasionally via social media and messaging, things like that. So yeah, he responded to it. He liked it, and the reason for that is we'd actually just watched his Singapore Airlines video where him and his wife flew in the amazing Singapore Airlines first class. And there's me taking her on economy. But yeah, he responded, and yeah, it was very nice of him. Really nice of him.
So yeah, it really funny. Now you're on YouTube 2 years this month, aren't you?
Yeah, it was a birthday a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, how has these 2 years been for you? Like, you've started. We saw a little bit of a clip in the intro of you presenting yourself for the first time on YouTube. Like, what? Well, since we're at it, like, how did that start?
The idea for the channel came from watching other YouTube videos, and I used to fly. I used to be a flight attendant many years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's always been a passion of mine. And I was actually on a flight with Emirates, funnily enough, in business class on the A380. And I was just taking photos and filming a little bit just for me. And when I got home, I was going on about the flight so much and watching videos. And again, my wife suggested, well, why don't you do it? So I came up with the idea, and it was a month or two in the planning. And my first flight was a very quick trip with Ryanair from Birmingham to Dublin, about a 40-minute flight. And it's just built from there, really.
Yeah. And we could actually watch a short clip from that very first Ryanair.
I bet. I'm flying from Birmingham Airport, my local airport, to Dublin in Ireland. Only a short flight today, around about 1 hour flying time from gate to gate, hopefully. And I'm flying on Ryanair.
Do you like seeing yourself from 2 years ago?
No, I don't mind it now, but some of the videos now, sometimes you might get this, I don't know, but sometimes I'll make a video nowadays and I think this is good. I really think this is a good video, and then it tanks on YouTube. Nobody watches it.
Yeah.
And then a video that I'm not that fussed about, I was like, oh, it's okay, and it does really well. This video, it's experience, it's practice, isn't it? I watch it back now, and I was very wooden. I didn't really know what I was saying. This was before I did voiceovers. It was all filmed on a phone. It was a good first effort, I guess. Yeah. And it's obviously got me where I am now. But no, I don't like it. I don't like that video.
Because I've had a lot of fun last night preparing the podcast and just going back in time with the videos that you've been making. And it surprised me that it actually took you over 6 months before you actually started doing the voiceover. But what I found very interesting is that you did do the intros, and you did talk into the camera, and you did do explain the seat while you were in the seat. Like, yeah, that's odd, because usually when guys start, they just do text on screen. Yeah. Why did you choose to do the intros and do the talking into the camera?
Mainly because of the videos that I prefer to watch. I mean, there's so many great people that film flights and do the text, and they're really interesting. But for entertainment purposes, I prefer seeing someone on camera. Yeah. Working in sales, as I do, there's an old adage in sales that people buy off people. And that's kind of what I thought doing these videos. It's better to be on the camera. I didn't do it quite as much at the start as I do now, and didn't do the voiceovers, mainly just nerves, lack of experience, didn't really know what to do. So it took a while for me to sort of build up to doing full voiceovers and being a lot more involved in the video now. But I always wanted to put a face to what was going on, really.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, what would you say that you've learned along the way since you got bigger?
What regarding like how to film or?
Yeah, like I reckon that you understand better of what you need to record and.
Yeah, I kind of have it in my head, but I also do have notes. I have a notebook that I carry with me all the time on every flight, which you've seen. And in the first page of that notebook is a list of shots that I want to remind myself to get. So every one of my videos tends to follow a similar sort of structure. So I'll do certain parts of certain areas of the video, and I might chop and change that a bit, but generally if you watch a few of my videos, the structure's the same. So that's some experience that I got to know what viewers liked, what they didn't like, what to film, what not to bother about filming. And then you just learn different techniques over time. And from watching other YouTubers, you get ideas from them as well. I've had so many other ideas from watching great videos on YouTube and just then try to put my spin on it. The worst thing you can do, I think, is copy someone.
Yes.
You know, because people will see through that straight away. You've still got to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can certainly get good ideas from people and then try and fit it in with what you do in your own way. But yeah, it's just practice and experience. And I've certainly got a lot more confident getting the camera out nowadays, I'd say, as well.
Yeah. It's something, it is something that really surprised me, that when we met in Toronto last year, that you already knew what music you were going to use and you knew exactly what kind of shots you actually have a formula.
Yeah, I do. I mean, to be honest, whenever I do make a video, the music is actually the hardest part. Mm-hmm. by far and away. And I've had comments before from some of my viewers that have spotted that I tend to put effort into the music, and I do hope that comes across, because I really do think about that. Because the way I do my shots, I like to change a shot on the beat of the music, and a good flight I'll have maybe more beat song to it or something like that. So, but yeah, I mean, certainly for that trip I did where I met yourself for the first time in Canada and the USA, I had already planned a lot of the videos what I was going to do when I got home. And that also makes the editing process easier for me, mm-hmm. because it takes an absolute age to put the videos together. So if I can shortcut it anyway, I'm definitely going to, 100%.
I think, I think many viewers, like, it's a 10-minute video, but how long would it take for you? No, actually, the video you uploaded yesterday, your Qatar Airways video.
Longer and longer at the moment. I don't know why.
Yeah, 18 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know why.
How long does it take for you to assemble such video?
Probably for that Qatar Airways video, I don't tend to do it in one go. I mean, it's easy at the moment because I'm not working, but when I'm working, I do it in the evenings, that sort of thing. But probably for a normal video, I'll spend 10 to 12 hours putting a video together, maybe. Mm-hmm. But to be honest with you, the hardest part of that, maybe the first 3 or 4 hours of that, is before takeoff. After the plane's taken off in the video, I know what I'm going to say.
Same for me, mate.
Exactly
the same.
You're going to talk about the seat and the food and that. You know exactly what you're going to say. But then it's on the ground in the airport. A lot of the time I'm on Wikipedia. I'm doing research saying, what on earth am I going to say about this? I need to put some facts.
Procrastinating.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Absolutely. It's just, I can just stare at the screen. I think on the Qatar Airways video that you mentioned, that was 18 minutes long, I started doing some work on that on Tuesday of this week. Yeah. And I think it started about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. 7 p.m, my wife said, how are you getting on? I hadn't done anything. I was just playing around with the music. I just done nothing. Yeah, so you do. I just get lost and start then. And if I'm downloading more tunes, or I've been obviously playing with the branding of the channel recently, I spend hours doing that. For me, I love flying. I really, really do. But genuinely, the best part of putting these videos on YouTube for me is putting the video together. I love doing the editing.
Because I can actually see that you really put time in to get a good quality video out there. Like, what would you say is the most important part in your video? Is that the shots, the music, or just the whole package? Or
yeah, I mean, you do too. Your videos are very good, but it's the whole package, really. You know, if the footage isn't right, I see some videos. I'm not trying to sound snobbish or critical or anything like that, but sometimes I watch videos on YouTube and the camera is really shaky, and that puts me off. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, for my last video, I had on on my computer 430 files for one video. Yeah. That's the worst I've ever done. That is the worst I've ever done. But like normally for an average video, I've got maybe 100 files, like video files, that sort of thing. And then I'll go through those and I might take, you've sat next to me on a plane. I'll do 4 or 5 takes of the same shot. And then when I get home, I'll pick out the best one of that if I can.
Yeah, I've seen you take more than one shot of a glass of apple juice.
Yeah, because my hand might have shook or something like that, and it annoys me.
Yeah.
I've probably got a bit of OCD, I don't know. But yeah, it's the whole package though. It's the detail. I mean, the best bit about the whole thing is the footage, you know. Plane nerds like us, they want to see planes.
Well, just for the viewers, like I've seen Blake actually use a level to get this GoPro straight.
Yeah, I do that every time, yeah.
So if you really want to know like how much time and effort Blake puts into his videos, it's that bad.
Yeah. And it annoys me. It really annoys me. I had a flight recently. I was in Bahrain with Gulf Air. And there was a bit of an issue on the ground. I didn't put this in my video, actually, so breaking news. But they really don't like you filming in Bahrain. Really don't like it. But I got on board the aircraft and I asked the cabin crew if it was okay. And there was no problem at all. Absolutely fine with it. They were great. So I put my GoPro on the window and got my level out and leveled it all out, ready for the shot to take off. And then I noticed over the next few minutes that people on the ground, the people loading the bags, were pointing at my window and taking photos.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I know, there's a member of security getting on the plane to have a word with me.
Whoa.
So I'm in a country I've never been in before, in the Middle East, and I've got this guy marching down the cabin telling me off for filming ground stuff. I hadn't turned the camera on. You know, I put it there and I offered to show them that, but they didn't want to see it. I said, and eventually the crew, I said, look, the last footage is Cathay Pacific. I've not filmed you. But I had to take it down. That was fine. It got sorted out. The crew were very apologetic. But the issue was I hadn't leveled up the GoPro when I put it back. So that footage, when I watch it back now for takeoff, because I then put the GoPro back on the window once we started taxiing, the crew were fine with that. But I didn't level it out again, so it's on an angle. Oh, it drives me insane. Drives me nuts. But yeah, I just think that the more effort you put in, the better it'll do, or the more the viewers hopefully will appreciate it anyway. And you know, you can definitely see that with some creators that work hard on it. It's constant improvement, but I try.
Yeah, and I would certainly say that like all the effort that you put in the video, you can definitely see that you have quality content, you upload regularly, and because of that, you pretty much exploded. You're at 5,000 subscribers, just over 5,000 subscribers right now, which is double the amount that you had this time last year.
Yeah.
And then, well, the first like 2,500 you gained in the year before that, like.
Yeah.
How does that feel, growing so fast?
It's good. Yeah, I mean, I generally do this for the enjoyment, for flying. I can just share it with people. But if anybody that does this says they're not looking at those subscriber numbers, they're lying. You know, of course you do. You want to hit the next milestone. So I hit 1,000 subscribers in, I think it was 6 months or 7 months, something like that. I'm not sure, which was great. And then I did have a goal to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2019, which I didn't quite make. It really annoyed me, to be honest. But to be honest, that aside, you know, it is amazing that so many people do tune into the videos week in, week out, especially because it's economy class. And I myself, I tend to watch business and first class videos. They're fun.
Yeah.
And there's more to show. You know, there's more to film, there's more going on. So to get where I am now, it's amazing. I'm very, very grateful to everybody who watches the videos, obviously. It's taken a bit of a dip lately because people aren't researching travel anymore, and that's a little bit sad to see. But the second I can, I'll be back in there and hopefully on to the next 10,000 and then see what happens from there, really.
Would you say that you're always battling with an invisible person? Like, you're always battling with your subscriber number or the algorithm?
Yeah, I mean, I do look at the analytics quite a lot to see where I'm making mistakes. That's something that's important. I don't pay too much. I mean, I look at it, but I don't let it influence what I'm doing. The core of what I do is I enjoy flying. I want to get that across on video, and I want to show people that flying doesn't have to be expensive, and economy class can still be comfortable, can still be good.
Yes.
And that's what I aim to do. And then if I can find a way to improve my figures as well, great. But more importantly, I like flying. I like showing people what I've experienced, and then the comments I get. And again, I'm sure you're the same. I get some lovely feedback from viewers. I do it for the fun. You know, I do look at the analytics, but it's more than anything, it's for the fun. And especially now, I think you've got to throw that out the window and just keep creating content as best as you can.
Yeah. Like, how would you say that? How do you feel about getting more and more comments? Like, I reckon you get private messages as well. And
yeah, a lot.
How is that? Do you suddenly feel like a celebrity or?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I expect people to roll out red carpets when I walk into an airport and everything. It's nice. You know, it's nice to know that people are enjoying the videos enough to engage with me. And sometimes they're not so pleasant. You know, sometimes the comments are a little bit negative. And one thing I do try and do is I respond to every single comment. And every message I get, I will respond to it in some way. It may just be a thank you, or sometimes if I've, you know, it's really, somebody's taken the time to really write a comment in detail, I'll respond back in detail. And I do that because, again, I've been watching these videos for so long now, and I've commented on all these videos, and you don't always get a response, but it does make you feel good when you do. You know, it's nice to know that that person on the camera does appreciate the people that are watching the videos. So that's something I do try and do. But yeah, it's the bigger the channel gets, the more and more comments I get. So I spend a lot of time going through them. Yeah. And I do have viewers that sometimes if I don't respond straight away, I'll get 2 or 3 messages off them. But it's all appreciated, you know. Yeah. It's all good fun.
Now, one person that you've commented on his video during his Q&A for his, I think it's 10,000 subscriber milestone.
I know you mean.
Let's go check out a little clip. It also gave you quite a bit of a bump in subscribers.
Just a bit, yeah.
Question that I'd like to answer, and that's from Blake Edgington, who is an awesome new YouTuber, really digging his channel. So I'll be sure to link to it. Check it out. I think you'll like it as much as I do. He asked what it takes to become a trip reporter, a trip reporter, and
what is it between you and Jeb?
I'm a full-on fanboy. I love the guy. Yeah, he has and always was one of my favorite trip reporters. In my first ever video that you showed in the little clip at the start there, I actually listed a few trip reporters that I followed. And I've been lucky enough to meet Jeb a couple of times. Yeah. And he has actually told me that it was his creative director, as he calls her, that spotted my videos and spotted this. And when they started watching my videos. So when I sent in the question, he was kind enough to respond to it and give my channel a shout out. And I had no idea he was doing it. I think it came out on a weekend, and I sat at home and I was just looking on my YouTube creator app, and all of a sudden I could see 100, 200, 300 subscribers in hours, which had never happened to my channel before. We're talking maybe a couple, maybe 10 a day on a good day. And I didn't know why for about an hour or two. And eventually I saw Jeb release a video and I watched it, and I started shouting at my wife to come and watch and all this sort of stuff. And I've been very lucky. He's actually, you know, he's a big supporter of mine, and he's a good friend of mine. And I think 3 times now he's mentioned my channel on his videos or featured them in some way. And that's helped my channel a lot. I don't think without that help, I would be in the position I'm in now. I genuinely don't, because he put, with all his 100,000 plus subscribers now, he put my channel out there so other people hopefully have a look at it. And again, I think that's a nice thing to do. You know, if you do genuinely appreciate someone else's content, just to let other people know that they're there, because, you know, you're opening up other people's entertainment, other people's horizons to see something different, which is great.
I mean, you've done the same for me. Sorry, you've done the same for me about a year ago. I think it was.
I'm still waiting for the money.
I'll send you the cookies.
I know, that's epic.
You've done the same for me for, I think, was March last year, and I was at work and I get notifications from YouTube Studio, subscriber, another, and they just keep rolling in, and I look at Social Blade, the counter, and I couldn't understand what was going on until I saw your video, and then I'm still very thankful for.
Yeah, it's not quite the hit that I got off Jeb, sorry, but I'm not quite as big as he was. But no, that's because, you know, I mean, for anybody watching this, we do text, we've got each other's numbers and that sort of stuff. We you know, we are friendly. But I did start watching your videos. I just came across them. You know, you get recommended videos on YouTube, and I watched one of yours. I forget which one it was, the first one now. But the quality was good. You're on camera, which I said earlier, something that I particularly look for. Again, not to criticize anybody, it doesn't, each to their own. But I just enjoyed it. So I thought, well, it worked for me, and I wanted to do what had happened to me, do the same for someone else. And I'll do it again. I'll find another creator that I really enjoy watching the videos of. You know, I'll happily do it anytime, because it's all one big club. Nobody's better than anyone else, and nobody deserves recognition more than anyone else. We all work hard, and to get in front of the camera and to create these videos takes so much time. I think everyone deserves recognition.
Yeah. Thanks again for that. And yeah, it's YouTube is not easy. I would say it's hard, and you do need each other to pull each other up and help each other grow, because otherwise it's very hard to get through the noise, because there is a lot of noise on YouTube.
Yeah, it's so competitive, especially now in what we do. That's gone insane in the trip reports. Everybody seems to now do trip reports because of mobile phones. The quality is better, and it's all you need. You just need a phone to do one of these things. So it is hard. So that's, I think it's important to recognize somebody else that you spotted that's good. Sometimes it's I've had many people ask me for shout outs. I don't like that, to be honest with you. You know, if I genuinely like your content, then I will in some way. But I get an awful lot of people just constantly asking me, will you mention my video in your next video? Well, you know, we all work hard. I don't know, I might sound a bit horrible then, sorry if I do, but you know, if I think that I like what you're doing, I'll happily mention it in my videos. But if I don't watch your videos, I'm not really going to say how great it is. I'm not going to lie to my viewers.
I think it's similar to like sponsored messages as well. Like, obviously I'm not big enough to get any VPNs to mention their VPN, but I think shout outs are kind of like the same as sponsored messages. Like, you genuinely have to like something to promote it, right?
You have to earn it, don't you? At the end of the day, you have to work hard and earn it. And that's right. You know, we're not big enough to have sponsors yet, because we haven't got to that level. We haven't earned it yet, where some of other creators have been doing this for years. You know, some of the big names have been, you know, it's not overnight. They've worked hard for several years to do it, and they deserve everything they get. And it's the same for shout outs, like you rightly say. You know, you have to work hard for it, and then someone, whoever, will notice your video and then go on from there if you're lucky. But it is luck as well. You know, like you say, the YouTube algorithm now, and it's so competitive. You've got to be a little bit lucky. Yeah.
I mean, I found the first year, almost a year, I think, quite lonely, because I didn't really know anyone in the community yet, and you're small. Yeah. You want to get recognized, and it was really through you that you were the person to pull me into the community. And man, I love this community. It's such a great group of people, and you know, when the whole lockdown blows over, we should all come together. But if you talk to Jeb sometimes, Finn, I would love to have him on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll certainly put it to him. He might watch this. You don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. We don't phone each other every evening and have a chat and talk about a day. It's once in a blue moon we'll send a text, something like that.
Yeah.
And actually, I have to thank Jeb, because obviously got my models on the shelf. That Delta one was Jeb's idea. I've got a model of a Delta A321. Yeah. My wife didn't know what to get me for Christmas, and she knew I flew Delta, and so she actually messaged Jeb as well, and he told her which one to get. So I'm lucky in that respect that I've got people's phone numbers. But it's just good fun doing what we do, isn't it? Really, and like you say, the communication that you can get with like-minded people, because it's a little bit what we do, but it's great that so many other people out there that do what we do and appreciate it, and you can get ideas off each other and share stories. It's really good fun.
Yeah, the Delta A321, you and I both flown it on the same day, not on the same flight. I think you went to Miami, I went to Dallas.
Yes.
Fantastic aircraft day.
So good. So good. It's better than I mean, obviously you're not living in Europe anymore, but you know European flying. Europe can't touch that. Maybe Turkish Airlines.
Yes.
But apart from that, there's nothing that comes close. I mean, I put it in my video, and I know you did as well. Like Biscoff, amazing.
Yes.
Not quite Stroop waffle for me, but still very good. In-flight entertainment, the crew were awesome. The seat was comfortable. It's just, I desperately want to fly Delta long haul at some point, because I think that'd be great, especially the new meals they're doing now in economy class. It just looks, it's sort of, again, it's what I try and do in my channel. It's to show that economy doesn't have to be that bad. And Delta do it so well, in my opinion. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
How would you compare European flying with North American flying?
Not in the same league. There's good and bad points to it. I think that certainly from the flights I've taken in my research, it's cheaper to fly in Europe.
Yes.
From what I've found, which makes the world a smaller place, which is great. And obviously we've got the likes of EasyJet and Ryanair and Wizz Air and Norwegian for however long they keep going. And low cost, what I found out, I was looking at low cost travel in the States, and yes, it's cheaper, but it's not cheap always. But at the same time, I think that the level of service that you get, certainly on the flights I've taken over in North America, is much better. That generally the comfort is better. You've got streaming entertainment, your mobile devices, all that sort of stuff. So you get what you paid for, really. But if I had to choose between, I don't know, say Delta or Lufthansa, well, I'm going to choose Delta.
Right.
I just think it's better on a like for like sort of flight. I just think, I don't know about you. What do you think? I mean, you fly a lot in Canada as well. I don't know Canadian flying there.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that you flew Lufthansa to Toronto, and not Air Canada.
I was supposed to fly Air Canada back, but I changed my flight, weirdly.
Oh, right. Yeah. I love living in Canada. Like, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. But it's so terrible for my wallet. Like, being a trip reporter here in Canada is the worst place, especially Edmonton, because this is not a hub. So if I want to go anywhere to fly a particular aircraft, I'm not going to find it here in Edmonton. Like, Calgary would be the closest to do anything. We do get the Air Canada A220 here now, which, yes. Or the C series. But other than that, we don't really, I've been reviewing some like heavies lately that were flying into Edmonton, so that's pretty neat, just on a domestic flight. But other than that, like, I really have to go to America. Now, the benefit is, like, I am quite close to America, so all that magic, like Delta, United, American Airlines, it's all pretty close, but it's so expensive.
Yeah, I definitely find that. Certainly my limited travels over there. I mean, I looked at my recent trip, like to the Middle East. I always price up a couple of trips, and a low cost carrier trip in the States was slightly more expensive than what I did in the Middle East. And that was KLM, that was Cathay Pacific, Gulf Air, Emirates and Qatar Airways. I mean, it was a no-brainer, that trip, to fly those sorts of airlines. As good as some of the North American carriers are, it's a little bit expensive in the States, but it is good fun as well. I must say I had a great time when I was over there. All the airlines I flew with were impressive in their own ways, and the airports are good fun. And I'd say that certainly they've got customer service nailed over there. It's what North America's known for, really.
Yeah.
And the free food again was just brilliant. Love it.
Like, how do you do your trip planning anyway?
It depends what mood I'm in, really, and how much time I've got off work. Because I work full time, sometimes I might only get one day off work. So literally, that's how most of my trip reports happen. I've got to do it all in one day, maybe two. So I'll do 3 or 4 flights in one day. And it will literally, because to squeeze more flights in, I'll start off at my local airport, Birmingham. I'll go on Google Flights and I'll say what's going where before 9 o'clock, and then just pick one. And then when I get there, I'll go, right, where can I go now? And then pick one. Eventually I need to get back to the UK. So that it's not too, usually it's literally like, right, I can book that flight. How am I going to get home and how am I going to do it? That's how I do it. But then the larger trips, I tend to have an idea of, like when I come over to North America or the Middle East, I have an idea on, I want to try a specific airline, and then I build around that flight. And that sometimes that I'll probably book that maybe 3 or 4 months in advance. But literally some of the trips I do, I book it the week before. and just go, right, I've got a day off next week. I'm going to fly to Paris, and then where can I go from Paris, and away it goes. So it's lots of flight alerts. I don't know about you, I'm sure you're the same, but I've got dozens of flight alerts on Google Flights. So if I know I've got like a week off booked at some point in the year, I'll set up dozens and dozens of flight alerts and then see which one works out well.
Right. So you're saying, carry on.
Let's say there are some airlines and flights that I do want to do that I am working on now. I've got the time. Like I've never flown on the 747 with BA, which being British and being a trip reporter is terrible of me. It's embarrassing that I haven't flown BA 747.
But you hadn't even flown a 747 until November last year.
No, that's embarrassing. Cheers for that. No, I've never flown a 747 until last year. Just hadn't worked because I'd flown long haul, but I always end up on a 777 most of the time. And that's kind of why I chose Lufthansa for that flight, because it worked to get from Birmingham to North America and Canada. It was easier for me at that particular time than it was to drive to London, to pick up BA, to go back. It was just easier trip overall for me to go that way. And it was good fun. But, blasphemy, I know I'll probably get shouted at in the comments, but if you gave me a 747 or an A380, it's A380 every time for me. I love it.
I know you like the Emirates A380.
I like any A380, but definitely the Emirates A380. 100%. It's 747's beautiful, and it was great. But when I did that Lufthansa flight, as comfortable as it was still flying on a very old plane. Yeah,
absolutely.
And after 6 or 7 hours, you start to notice it.
Well, you shouldn't forget that the A380 has been flying around for over 10 years now. Like, I still like, it still feels for me that the plane hasn't been around for that long.
Have you been on it?
I've flown it once with Air France.
How was that?
It was very interesting because I walked all the way, because I was upstairs in the front. Yeah. So I walked all the way down to the back, down the spiral staircase, and then all the way back to the front. And I was like, I can run a marathon in here. Like, ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just comfortable. I mean, everybody's got their own preference. And like I say, I'm sure I'll get people hating me and unsubscribing from my channel for saying it. But yeah, the A380 is such an amazing machine. It really is. So is the 747, but the A380's got decades on the 747. Of course, it's going to be more comfortable. But I do want to fly BA long haul. I actually had a trip that I was sort of sketching out for May, and it did both. So it was BA A380 to Boston, and then JFK to Heathrow on the 747. But that's not going to happen, obviously. But I'll do something like that at some point. Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
Now, to go to something else, like you mentioned it shortly before earlier in the podcast, but you have a history with Flybe as a flight attendant.
Yes.
How did that happen? How did you get into that job?
Well, since I was younger, I'd always had a bit of an interest in aviation, and the best part of any holiday or vacation for me was going on the plane. And I just liked flying, so I actually started off my flying career at an airline over here called My Travel, mm-hmm. Which didn't last for too long. They were a charter leisure airline. Yeah, I hated it. I lasted about 2 months on a seasonal contract and quit. Hated being away. But as soon as I'd stopped flying, I realised I made a mistake. So, I applied for Flybe and Thomas Cook. So all three of those airlines don't exist anymore. It's nothing to do with me. So I applied for Flybe and Thomas Cook. I got offered both jobs, and ended up going with Flybe because it was a permanent job, and I was there for 7 years, I think it was. And it was so much fun. And then I left because I thought I'd get a job that gave me more time off, a real job, and now I work harder and it's 2 more hours. So for anybody that wants to be cabin crew, do it and don't quit, because it's awesome. It's hard work. It's very, very hard work compared to what people think. And that's why I genuinely, in my videos, I very rarely say anything negative about the crew if I can help it. If there's something been terrible, I will mention it. But those cabin crew work a lot harder than people think, for a lot less money than people think. So they deserve all credit for what they do. And especially now, there's airlines that are still flying to take people home. and putting themselves in harm's way, and these guys are doing it, So yeah, it was good fun, and memories of that kind of also helped me decide to start this channel. And to be able to fly on a plane 3-4 times a day, every day, is wicked, brilliant, and get paid for it. I'd love to be a pilot, but I don't have enough money to do that. So
yeah, it's a long ways out. Would you say with this much experience in the air and now as a passenger as well, and like you must have a different eye looking at your flight as an ex-flight attendant, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I wouldn't pretend to say that I know everything, because it was several years ago that I stopped flying for my career. But there are certain things that I'll hear passengers grumble about on a flight, and I just go, well, that's normal. They can't help it. It's not their fault. And I'm probably more understanding of delays and things like that, because I've been on the other side and I know what really happens. And I know that, at least with most airlines anyway, if you're not hearing anything, it's because they've got nothing to tell you, because they don't know. If you have a technical delay or something like that, generally they'll be working on it until the last second, and then they'll say, get the passengers. So if you're sat there for 1 hour, 2 hours, we haven't had any updates, it's because they're still trying to fix it for you. But so yeah, I do see the other side of it, and sometimes not so much anymore, and it works different airlines, but I always listen for the calls and the call bells and that sort of thing. And even when a call bell goes off on a plane now, years after I left, I still look up. If somebody pushes a call bell, I still look up. I don't know why. And then ignore it. No, I would never ignore a call bell. But yeah, it's I still, when I'm on a plane, I still remember. I do think back fondly to it, very much so.
How do you think aviation, but also like how passengers behave on planes, has changed compared to like when you first went into the air? What is it, 10 years ago?
Yeah,
compared to now.
God, yeah, it must be like 15 years ago, maybe more than that when I first started. I'd probably say like every year. I mean, it was similar anyway, I think, to as it is now. But passengers, certainly from what I see in my experience, and we all are, it's just the way we are nowadays. We expect everything now. We expect a lot of service for not necessarily much money. Mm-hmm. Like I paid £5 for a flight not so long ago, and I expected nothing for that. I can't even get a taxi or a cab into my city for £5.
Nope.
But people do pay. It's partly down to low-cost airlines, I guess. People pay really, really low fares, and sometimes maybe expect a full-service airline service for that. But I don't think that's a criticism. It's just the way we are now. Amazon next-day delivery or same-day delivery and all this sort of stuff. We want so much now because it's provided. And I do think that sadly, flying is less of an event nowadays than it used to be. It's, I don't know if you'll agree with this, you probably won't, but people clapping on planes, I like it. I do. Because when I was a kid, you'd maybe, if you were lucky, flying one flight a year and everybody clapped when you landed because it was so rare and so special. Mm-hmm. And it still makes me smile now when I hear people clapping on a flight. But nowadays, I think it's just become, getting a bus, getting a cab, it's not special. And it should be, because it's still amazing, Sitting at 37,000 feet looking out the window is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, that's just me.
I'm not a big fan of the clapping, but...
Why? See, nobody knows why. That's it.
Yeah,
what's wrong?
It's true. Yeah, well, I see it as a job, like for the pilots to land.
Yeah.
So now I'm probably gonna.
I wouldn't mind if somebody clapped me every time I park the car. I'd be happy with that. I'd be on the moon with that. If I had applause if somebody sat in the car, me, I deserve it. I've done well.
Fair enough.
And maybe I'm just nostalgic. I don't know.
Yeah. So for now, I would like to move on to the questions from viewers, if you're okay with that.
Okay.
We did get a couple in through Twitter and Instagram. I'm looking where I left them. There you go. First one through Instagram, I got from Kevin_Lou00. What's your favorite airline to take?
Emirates.
Just Emirates?
Emirates. I like a lot of airlines. There's very few airlines that I don't enjoy flying on. But if you gave me the choice, I could take one more flight, it'd be Emirates. They're not probably the best airline in the world, but I've just got fun memories of them. Sometimes you've got, the first airline you flew on, you've got really nice memories, and even if it's unreasonable, you'll still say they're the best. It's kind of like that with me for Emirates.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a bad flight with them. I've had inconsistency with them, but the aircraft are usually very comfortable. The food's good. The crew are very professional. Dubai International's awesome. So yeah, definitely I'd say Emirates would be my favorite airline, 100%. But it depends who I've flown with last as well. Like at the moment, I am fully a Qatar Airways fanboy. They're awesome. And it's, they're probably off my one experience on an empty flight, so I can't really judge them too, but they were probably better than Emirates in certain areas, but I still love Emirates.
That was, I watched it last night. It was so impressive, the cabin and the food.
Awesome. And I did, did you watch the pros and cons? You did. I said at the end that, I need to try them again on a busier flight because that flight was so quiet. And it would be interesting to see how the crew are if it's full. And obviously it was super comfortable because I had an empty row, literally 10 seats. I had 10 seats to myself in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's a little bit.
You mentioned that the interaction with the crew, they interacted a lot.
So good. But again, it's really hard to judge an airline when it's so quiet because they had so much time and so few passengers.
Yeah.
I mean, at the back of the aircraft, in my section of the cabin, there were maybe 10 people. The front of the aircraft was a little bit busier, but with so few passengers, they had time to interact with people a lot more than they ordinarily would have. But they were great. I mean, there was a family of a young child. She must have been about 2 or 3 year old little girl. And for about an hour, the cabin crew were playing with this little girl. She was running up and down the aisles having fun, which was great. And the crew were playing with her. It was brilliant to see. And it's when you fly with some airlines, you'll see the crew, they'll do the service and they'll maybe disappear into the galley. And that's the last you see of them until they come out.
Yep.
This was different. They were always there. They were always chatting and checking on people. They were brilliant, but I keep going on about Qatar Airways. But yes, Emirates are my favorite airline.
Fantastic. Delta Bravo Tango is asking you, what plane means the most to you and why?
What plane means the most to me?
So that's a different question than what's your favorite aircraft?
Probably, I'd have to say, probably the 757. Because most of my memories when I was younger of flying on aircraft were on the Boeing 757. That was certainly here in the UK. If you're on a leisure carrier on a charter holiday, you are going to be on a 757. So, talking back to like Britannia back in the day, Air 2000, all those sorts of airlines. So there's a lot of fun memories and it's still awesome. It's so much fun flying on that aircraft. It's so powerful and noisy and it's comfortable. So yeah. And also my first ever long haul flight solo was on the 757 as well. I flew they were Continental just as the merger was taking place. And I flew from Birmingham to Newark and back on a 757 with Continental. Completely on my own, never been long haul my own before. Terrifying, but brilliant at the same time. So yeah, I'd probably say the 757. It's sad there's not many around anymore, certainly here in Europe anyway. They're very few and far between now.
Yeah, I flew on for the first time last year with Delta on their 757. It's a very interesting aircraft because it's very long but narrow, and then you have like a 3-3 seating configuration, but they also fly long haul with it. I couldn't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I think the 757, the 767, Boeing nailed it. They and the 737, the originals, Boeing nailed it with those ones. They really, really did. And that's why I think, in America, I think, is it United are still buying secondhand 767s now and refitting them and putting them back into the fleet. So because they do a job and there's nothing out there really that can do what the 757 does. Maybe the newer A321s with the new engines, the long range, the Neos. But it's like you say, it's an aircraft that's more than happy flying for 1 hour or 8 hours. It can do both.
Yeah.
And the engines just sound brilliant as well. So as a plane geek, hearing those engines throttle up, particularly Rolls-Royce, it's awesome.
Nice. Then Scottish Traveler, he asked on Twitter, is Blake sponsored by Under Armour? He always wears their hats.
You know, I've had so many questions about my hats. No, I answered this in my Q&A video recently. I like hats. I go through sort of phases, and I'll like a brand or a design, and I'll buy maybe 4 or 5 of them in different colours. And then when the Under Armour hats get a bit tatty and worn out, I'll buy a different type. It was Yankees hats initially when I first started the channel.
Yes.
So I had about 4
I've counted.
Sorry?
I counted.
You counted?
Yes. I went through most of your videos to count I think throughout your videos you wore about 6 or 7 different hats.
Oh,
but
really?
It might be more.
I have more than that. I just don't wear them all in the videos. But yeah, if Under Armour do want to sponsor me, I'm open to it. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. But I don't think they will. I like the logo, and I don't know, hats keep my head warm.
Okay. Makes sense. Then SpongeBob Jim Bob on Twitter is asking, my question for both of you is, in a time where airlines, this is a long one, in a time where airlines are looking to retire quad-engine jets sooner rather than later, if you had to choose between one last flight on the A380 or the 747, which one do you choose and where? Because he's saying he's in this position himself because he's on a family of 4. Realistically, I'm probably only going to get the chance to fly long haul once in the next 18 months or so. After that, it's probably boring twin jets all the way.
There's nothing boring about the twin jets. The A350 and the 787, they're awesome. They're great fun. I think it depends if you've done the 747 before. To not fly in a 747 is terrible. So if SpongeBob Jim Bob, which is a wicked name, by the way, yes. If he hasn't done the 747, you probably should. But as I said earlier, for me, if it was a choice for me, A380.
Okay.
What about you?
I would certainly go for the 747 more than the A380. I just love how she looks. It's just that bump on top.
Like, it's outside.
Yeah. And
from inside, it's
if
once 747-8.
747-8, yeah. I definitely still want to fly that one.
Yeah.
Next one is from Neil Smith. You might know his name.
Dude, such a nice guy. He lives by my sister, Neil does. Really close to my sister.
I heard that, yeah. So he's got so many questions, but here's 2. What airline / destination is on top of Blake lists when the lockdown is lifted?
Ooh, I have 2. I've actually been thinking about this a lot. I've done Emirates. I've done Qatar Airways. There's a big gap there. I need to do Etihad.
Yeah.
So, I want to try all 3, and then I want to compare all 3. So Abu Dhabi with Etihad is right at the top of my list, or Boston / JFK with BA, because I've not actually reviewed BA long haul on my channel. They're my most flown airline over the last 2 years, but I've not done them long haul. Mm-hmm. So yeah, probably those. What's yours? What's your first flight? First flight back. Where are you going to go?
I have one booked actually. That would be on Delta A330 Neo, which I really want to fly on.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to see how different it is compared to the A330 is cool. It's not my favorite aircraft, but I'd like to see how different the Neo is, like how much more comfortable and quiet it is.
Yeah.
The Neos are impressive. Like I've been on the A320 Neo. That's nice. It's nice and quiet. Mm-hmm. But the A330, and I like the twin seating on the A330 as well. There's less chance of being pinned in by the window in economy, which is great. But I think we've got in Europe, we've got TAP that fly the A330 Neo. I don't think too many others have got it over here yet. I don't know.
I only know Delta and TAP. Might be more.
No. But fun. Yeah, but That'd be good fun. Where is that flight to? Sorry.
This is from Seattle to Amsterdam, or the other way around. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Are you going to be in Europe?
I'm planning to be in Europe in July.
Oh,
If
sort something out.
His second question is if you've ever thought about retailing some airborne hats.
Not with the old logo. I did think about it.
Yeah, you just silently added a new logo there.
I did. I've been thinking about it for a long time, just to make it. I like the old logo, and it's done a great job. And obviously, it's been there from a long time with the channel, not from the start, but from a long time. But this one just feels a little bit more grown up to me. The one that I've gone for now. But maybe. But whether I would wear it, I don't know, because I don't. Especially in economy, I don't like to draw too much attention to what I'm doing because it can make people feel uncomfortable. So like I do have a couple of t-shirts, airborne t-shirts that I wear around the house, that sort of thing. But I don't think I'd wear it on a flight because I'm literally shining a light on, here's some weirdo with a camera, avoid him. But yeah, maybe I am going to be, well, thanks for asking about the merch. If you want to buy it, by the way, by all means do. But I am going to be refreshing some of the merchandise that I have. And some people have actually bought it. I had a message on Twitter the other day from one of my viewers, and he was wearing the airborne hoodie, which is so cool. But yeah, maybe I might release a hat if somebody wants to buy it, they can, but I don't know if I'll feature it in the video.
Okay. I might buy some.
Do you own any of my merch, Robin?
I don't actually.
It's terrible.
But I'll give you my address if you want to send some for free.
My economy. I can't afford to send freebies as well. Come on.
Cool. Well, we're nearing an hour almost already. So for yes, we can talk for days. Really enjoying so far. But we gotta close sometime soon. So yep. Obviously, just like last time, Billy had 13 images right on the Name the Plane segment.
I'm looking forward to this.
Do you or do you not?
No. I am not a plane spotter at all. I can't tell the difference between aircraft most of the time unless I'm booked on them. So this is going to be a disaster. I know it is.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how good you'll do compared to Billy, and compared to hopefully some future guests on the podcast as well.
Okay.
Cool. Then when you say go, we'll start.
I'm ready.
There you go.
Okay, so 777. Ah, I love that plane. A380. A321.
Yes.
767. 300.
Go ahead.
A350.
Yes.
I've been on that plane. 747-8.
Yes, correct.
A330.
Yeah.
Ooh. MD-88.
No, that's a 717.
Ah, I knew it would go. It's a 737. I want to say 600.
700.
It's still a. Does that count?
Yeah. Time.
That's an ERJ anyway.
It is. It's 1:45.
I didn't do too badly.
No, not at all. No. Yeah, thank you very much, Zach, JFK Spotter on Instagram, and the Plane Guy on YouTube for letting us use your images today for this segment of Name the Plane. Thank you very much. I'll make sure that his YouTube channel and his Instagram are in the description down below. And yeah, with that, I want to finish up the podcast. Thank you very much, Blake, for being on the show. I had a blast. What do you think?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's really good fun. It's definitely a good idea, obviously, when we can't fly, to do things like this. And I certainly hope that you get a lot of guests coming on and sharing their thoughts with you, and maybe ones that like the 747 more than me.
Obviously, if you would like to see any of your favorite aviation YouTubers on a future podcast episode, make sure to share this video with them on Twitter and make sure to tag them. Who would you like to see on the next episode?
I actually tagged him on Twitter a little while ago, but I think you should get Nick from Soplane. I think that would be hilarious. I really do.
Well, I really hope he can make it on the podcast. Anyway,
I'll be watching.
Thank you very much for watching this podcast. And next week we'll be back with another trip report. We'll be checking out Air Canada's Dash 8 100. Thank you very much and see you next week.